Thomas wakes up as the bustling sight of the city greets his view. Like any other day, it is a sight that he sees once he opens his eyes. It has been 15 years since the crisis of the coronavirus crumbled civilization. The city is the last trace of civilization on Earth. Thomas is a serviceman who is serving in the military. He lost his mother and father during the corona crisis. After Thomas was rescued by the government, he was allowed to dwell in the city, which became his home. Settling in the city, Thomas quickly adapted to the cold reality. He was craving to achieve a high social status, but because of the social structure of the city, which only allowed citizens who were born within the city to accomplish a high social status, Thomas enlisted in the military where he was able to accomplish his dreams. After enduring years of hardship, Thomas finally was able to accomplish his dreams as an officer. His colleagues heartfully congratulated him, but Thomas, a man filled with ambition, only saw them as competitors, not friends, and thought their words as a sci-fox. One ordinary day, Thomas was ordered to go to a small village, which was located among the woods far away from the city, to look for any survivors. After he received the order, Thomas looked at the woods and sighed. The remembrance of the woods made Thomas shudder. Despite the gorgeous appearance of animals freely roaming around the beautiful flowers and trees, the woods made Thomas remember the days of his childhood. His childhood life was miserable. During the outbreak of the coronavirus, governments around the world tried to stop the deadly virus and restore order to society, but every known attempt failed. When the police and the National Guard weren't able to restore order, people began to kill each other in order to dominate the resources needed to survive. Thomas, who was a little child at the time, was terrified. He was a devoted Christian, but seeing people do things that were unimaginable to other people, he began to cast doubt on the existence of God. He used to spat in his mind, "Is this really what God intended? Are people born evil?" Shaking off his childhood memories which were tormenting his mind, Thomas headed towards the dense woods which were awaiting him. After days of walking, Thomas's shoulders were pleading to rest. The walking wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the sun. The strong rays of the summer sun was overwhelming Thomas and draining his power. Thankfully, Thomas saw a glimpse of a cottage in his eye. Despite the fact that the cottage was located deep inside the forest out of reach of most people, it was very neatly organized. The bushes around it were pleasingly managed. Even the door of the cottage seemed to call out to Thomas to come to get rest in one of those soft beds. Having no choice, Thomas stumbled into the cottage and collapsed on the bed inside of the cottage. After a good night's sleep, Thomas woke up to see a sandwich on the table. There were also fresh clothes in the closet. It was as if someone was waiting for Thomas to come to this cottage. Wondering who would do such a thing, Thomas went out of the cottage and met the man who was sitting on the bench next to the cottage. His white hair and wrinkled face told Thomas that he had been living in the cottage among the woods for a very long period of time. Thomas sat next to the foreign man, trying to catch on what was going on. In contrast to the aged impression the foreign man had, after having a brief talk with him, Thomas felt a strange comfort from the man and his surroundings. "Is your inner conflict bothering you?" the man said. He seemed to know what Thomas was thinking. "Just forget society. You'll be better off without it." Thomas was outraged. The man's words were neglecting every effort Thomas made to become successful. Thomas sprang to his feet. Huffing, he quickly refuted the man's words. "What do you mean to forget society? Do you even know how much effort I put in to accomplish my social status?" The man answered Thomas in a logical tone. "What have you accomplished? Think about your life. Even though you work so hard to gain recognition, no one recognizes you. The most important thing is your happiness. Look around yourself. One doesn't need huge mansions and tremendous amount of wealth to fulfill happiness. The important thing is yourself as an individual. Forget the city and your past life. Start again from having a simple life." Thomas looked back at his life. He had lived a busy life, occupied in his ambition and not even caring about what he wanted. He thought about his friends and colleagues who worry and care about him. Thomas realized how ignorant he was. He was restrained by his memory from his childhood. thinking that every human was bad while there were people caring and worrying about him. He remembered the day when his colleagues congratulated him for becoming an officer. Instead of being thankful to them, he disregarded their congratulations. I was so mulish. I wasted my life disregarding other people. Will I actually be able to start again? Said Thomas miserably. Of course, young fellow, the man said excitedly. The most important thing is your inner mind becoming one with nature. Look around. God created nature so that we could live among it. If you follow your inner voice of God, you will be able to accomplish anything. After Thomas got home, he thought about the man. Even though he didn't have wealth or a high social status, he seemed much happier than anyone he knew. Why? How is it possible that someone could be happy just by living within nature? Thomas thought the question over and over in his head. Then Thomas suddenly realized something which he tried to deny for such a long time. Every human being is innately good. Thomas began to sing like a madman and dance like a butterfly all around the table. He was able to finally admit the truth which has tormented him for so long. Admitting the fact that every human being is innately good, he began to understand the man's words. The next day, Thomas began to pack his stuff. He decided that he will live among nature, abandoning the well-known city he had been living in for so long. Saying his farewell to his friends and colleagues, Thomas confidently set off towards the woods, where he will be able to find the meaning of life.